Welcome back, Mountaineers. You're watching the A-Game. I'm Allie Powell.
And I'm Shaheen Stafford, and we're here to keep you updated on anything and everything App State sports from this past week. This week, we'll update you on players who were recognized by the Sun Belt, tournaments that App participated in, and recaps as spring 2021 season continues for all of our App State teams. All this and more coming to you now.
After their shortened 2020 season, the App State women's golf team was finally back in action this past week with two tournaments. The Mountaineers opened their season in Statesboro, Georgia on Tuesday for the Strutter Gus Invitational, finishing in 11th out of 12 participating teams, and the Aggie Spring Invitational hosted by North Carolina at A&T, where the Mountaineers finished in second of the four participating teams. In their season opener, the Strutter Gus Invitational was taken by Seminole State, who finished in the top 5 in all 3 rounds and finished with an overall score of 920 and plus 56 in the tournament. The Mountaineers finished the 54-hole event in 11th in all 3 rounds, finishing with a total score of 971 and plus 107. The only team falling to App was Marshall, who finished 26 strokes behind the Mountaineers with a plus 133 finish. In the individual rounds, all 5 starting Mountaineers stayed under 250 strokes. Carrie Catherine Gaiman finished first for App at 33rd overall with a score of 240. Kayla Ward started strong with an 80-stroke first round and 78 third round for a total of 244 strokes. Sarah Harden finished with an overall score of 246. Moggy Adamczyk at 248 strokes and Melanie Chong who rounded out App's starting 5 with a total of 250 strokes.
With February coming to a close, the App State's women's track and field team competed in the Sun Belt Championship tournament this week in Birmingham, Alabama for a 9th place finish. The Mountaineers had a strong start to the two-day event, with App finishing the first day in 5th out of the 12 participating teams with 10 points. The distant medley relay brought App its first 5 points within the Kylie Frady, Jessica Dixon, Jasmine Donahue, and the Izzy Everly team, finishing 4th overall at 12 minutes and 5 seconds. App State's next 3 points came when Bridget Kunkale demolished her gold personal record for the 5,000-meter run. Kunkale shaved off almost a full minute from her old PR time of 18 minutes and 26 seconds for a 6th-place finish with a time of 17 minutes and 37 seconds. The last 2 Mountaineer points for the day came from Maya Hanks with her 7th-place long jump finish for her new personal record of 5.82 meters on her 3rd jump.
On the second day of the championship, App was ready to finish strong and took another 19 points before the end of the day to finish with 29 points and 9th overall. App's very own Peyton Simmons took the long jump title with a leap of 12.62 meters in the preliminaries and a 12.67 meter leap in the finals that gave her a new personal record and her first championship of her college career. Jamalia Peterson also placed in the triple jump, taking the 6th place spot with a mark of 12.12 meters for another strong Mountaineer finish. In the 3,000-meter run, Kylie Frady finished in 6th with a personal record time of 10 minutes and 4 seconds, with Izzy Everly finishing right behind her in 7th with a time of 10 minutes and 5 seconds. The Mountaineers finished the day with the 4x400-meter relay team of Jelani Smith, Samara Gibson, Annie Judd, and Jessica Dixon, who finished in just over 4 minutes, taking 8th place for the event. The championship ended on Tuesday with returning champions Arkansas State taking first with 145 points. App State fought hard but was unable to take a top spot. They will be back in action on March 12th and 13th for the NCAA Track and Field Championship Tournament in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
The wrestling team also competed in the Sun Belt Championship this week, with App State finishing 2nd out of the 7 schools and 5 wrestlers winning their weight class. In the finals on Sunday, App State finished right behind Campbell, who finished with 92 points and 3 individual champs. App ended the day with 87 points and 5 individual champs, a tie for the school record. Individual champions for the Mountaineers included 125-pound champion Cody Russell, 133-pound champion Sean Carter, 141-pound champion Anthony Brito, 149-pound champion Jonathan Milner, who went undefeated in SoCon duels this season, and 157-pound champion Cody Bond, who won his match in double overtime. The only team with 5 league champions in Division I wrestling are App State, Arizona State, and NC State. Individual champions have all earned a spot in the NCAA Championship Tournament that will be taking place in St. Louis, Missouri from March 18th through the 20th.
After an incredible season for the Mountaineer wrestling team, one wrestler stood out among the rest. 165-pound redshirt freshman Will Formato's excellent performance during the spring 2021 season has earned him the title of SoCon Wrestler of the Year. Formato has wrestled in 14 matches this season and will be going into the SoCon Championship Tournament with a record of 3-1, tying for the first in the nation for his season record. Formato outscored his opponents 120-9 and didn't give up a single takedown in his matches. 8 of his wins this season were against nationally ranked wrestlers and the top 50 wrestlers in the nation. His only loss of the regular season came from a close 7-5 decision against top 15 wrestler Jake Keating from Virginia University. Formato started out the season unranked, but is now known as one of the best wrestlers, even reaching as high as 10th in the nation. He is one of the 3 App State wrestlers who were named SoCon All-Conference this year alongside Cody Russell and Jonathan Milner.
The men's basketball team ended their regular season this week after a loss to Georgia State and 1 win and 1 loss against Georgia Southern to end their season 13-11. In their Georgia State game, the Panthers scored the first basket to take an early lead over the Mountaineers. Georgia State never let up and held a 4-point lead after the first 5 minutes before running the next 5 and extending their lead to 8 points. The Mountaineers weren't done yet, and with baskets by Michael Eads, Justin Forrest, and James Lewis Jr., the App was within 1 of Georgia State. With 10 minutes left in the half, Georgia State opened up the gap once more, going on a 13-3 run to take an 11-point lead. The Mountaineers played hard for the rest of the half, but were unable to close in on the Panthers, finishing the first half 31-41. App State came out strong in the second, scoring 8 of the first 10 points to bring the game within 2 baskets. The Panthers didn't like that and retook the control of the game, going on a 7-0 run to give them a double-digit lead. App State was never able to come back from the deficit and was shut down by Georgia State, overwhelming offense for the rest of the game. In the end, the Mountaineers fell 71-85 to the Panthers. Top scorers for the game were Michael Almakacy with a career-high 24 points, Justin Forrest and Adrian Dell, who both had 13, and James Lewis Jr. with 12.
In their first game against Georgia Southern, the Mountaineers and Panthers went into not 1 but 2 overtimes before App finally put away the game to win 84-78. The first 5 minutes of the game stayed close, with neither team taking more than a 4-point lead over the other. But after about 5 minutes of play, Georgia Southern went on a 17-2 run over the next 10 minutes for a 16-point lead. The Panthers kept scoring through App and only gave up a few more points in the half, giving Georgia Southern a 36-20 lead going into the halftime. In the second half, it looked like the Panthers would continue to run through App for the rest of the game. They continued to score and brought themselves to a 22-point lead. The Mountaineers had had enough of the Eagles and came back to go on a 7-0 run to pull within 15, and another 7-0 a few minutes later to get within 11. Whittled down Georgia Southern's lead and was able to close the gap to a single basket with a dunk from Xavion Brown and tie the game with 15 seconds left with a layup from Justin Forrest.
The 5-minute overtime started with the first Mountaineer lead since the opening minutes of the game, before Georgia Southern took control again for a 7-0 run and a 6-point lead. App State came back going on an 8-2 run for the last 2 minutes of the period, with Justin Forrest sinking a 3 to tie the game once again before overtime 1 ended. App State came out strong in the second overtime, only giving the Panthers the lead in the first minute before taking and holding a lead that Georgia State was not able to come back from in the end. The Mountaineers' 22-point comeback wasn't in vain, as they finished the night with an 84-78 victory over the Panthers. The 22-point comeback was the Mountaineers' largest since 2002, and this is 5th victory against the Panthers this season, where Mountaineers came back from a double-digit deficit. Top scorers for the game were Justin Forrest and Adrian Duff, who both had 24 points, Donovan Gregory with 17, and Michael Almakacy with 13.
In their final game of their regular season, App State fell to the Eagles in a nail-biter, ending in a 65-57 Georgia Southern win. The game started with Georgia Southern taking a lead that they held for almost the entire half and scoring the first 7 out of 9 points. App brought back the game to within 2 and were able to go point for point with the Eagles for the next 5 minutes. The rest of the half continued with the Eagles going on an 8-2 run for a 9-point lead. The Mountaineers spent the rest of the half chipping away at Georgia Southern's lead and was able to cut it to 1 basket with just under 3 minutes left. As the clock ran out in the first, a 3-pointer by Adrian Delph closed the gap and gave the Mountaineers their first lead of the game at 31-30 at the half. App started the second off strong and was able to hold their lead for the first 5 minutes of play before the Eagles brought the game to another tie. With the game so close and time winding down, neither team gave the other any leeway, and a stalemate began. For the next 13 minutes, the teams went back and forth, taking and losing the lead. The stalemate was broken by Georgia Southern with an 8-0 run from the last 2 minutes until the buzzer at the end. Top scorers for the weekend were Adrian Delph with 19 points, Justin Forrest with 12 points, Michael Almanassi with 10, and the Mountaineers finished their season 13-11 and will be part of the Sunbelt Conference tournament that begins next week, with App's first game against 11-14 Little Rock Trojans on March 5th.
In their final regular season series, the App State women's basketball team hosted Georgia Southern for a 2-game series, with the Mountaineers finishing 2-0 against the Eagles. In their first game, the Mountaineers took down the Eagles for the second time this season with a 77-66 victory. In the first quarter, App took an early lead with the first 7 of 9 points scored and held the lead for the entire quarter. A 7-0 run halfway through gave App a double-digit lead over the Eagles as time winded down, ending the first 19-10 in favor of the Mountaineers. The second quarter stayed cold in point scoring, with both teams trading off point for almost 3 minutes. At the 7-minute mark, App broke the stalemate and continued to extend their lead from the first, going on a 12-2 run over Georgia Southern. With halftime quickly approaching, the Eagles came back and with an 11-0 run brought the game within 4 at the end of the half. The Eagles were persistent in the third and quickly brought the game to a 1-basket difference before taking a 3-point lead. Their biggest of the game, App wasn't going to give them any more and closed the gap before going on another 12-2 run to shut down Georgia State and ended the third with App up by 10. The gap only grew in the fourth as App extended their lead throughout, never leading by less than 10 and even up to 17. With the clock running down and App up by more than you can count on your both hands, the Eagles tried their best to come back but were only able to come within 11 for a 77-66 Mountaineer win. Top scorers of the game were Priest Stanley with 18 points and 6 assists, Lainey Gosnell with 18 points and 10 rebounds for her 6th double-double of the season, and Michaela Porter and Brooke Biggett with 13 points each.
In their season closer, the team finished with another win against Georgia Southern that ended 81-78. In the first quarter, neither team was able to get a leg up on the other and traded off points with each other, resulting in the first 10 minutes of play ending in a 14-all tie. App took the lead in the second, though, and quickly built a lead that they held for almost half the quarter. The Eagles came back and tied the game once again, but couldn't take a lead. With under 3 minutes on the clock, App went on a 7-0 run and ended the half with a 40-33 lead. In the second half, Georgia Southern worked hard to close the gap, but could never get back completely. App continued to run past the Eagles and outshot them in the quarter to give them an 8-point lead with only 10 minutes left to play. App came out of the gate strong in the fourth, taking only 2.5 minutes to extend their lead to 13 over the Eagles. Georgia Southern kept their heads in the game and slowly closed the gap. With time winding down, the Eagles found themselves down by 2 baskets, and with only 16 seconds left, they found themselves within 5. With less than 5 seconds left, Georgia Southern hit a 3 to close the gap to 1 before fouling App with no time on the clock, where they finished the game with 2 good free throws for the win. Top scorers of the game were Lainey Gosnell with a season-high 23 points, Priest Stanley with 16, Janie Sanders with 15, and Michaela Porter with 14. The Mountaineers finished their season 13-11 and will take part in the Sunbelt Conference tournament that begins next week, with App's first game against the 3-19 ULM Warhawks the weekend of March 5th.
Only 1 week into the baseball season, senior App State pitcher Quentin Martinez has been named the Sun Belt Conference Pitcher of the Week. Martinez was named after his 7-inning start against Winthrop last week, giving the pitcher a 1-0 record to start the season. In the Mountaineers' 4-0 win against Winthrop, Martinez struck out 4 of the 22 batters he faced, giving up no runs and only 3 hits and a walk to the Eagles. Only one Winthrop runner was able to get into scoring position against Martinez, but was quickly shut down after the Mountaineers closed the inning with a pop-up fly to first. Martinez is the only pitcher in the Sun Belt who pitched more than 5 scoreless innings in their opening weekend and was able to do it against the team who placed second in the Big Southern Conference in 2020. He is now 3-0 in his career with the Mountaineers and 6-1 in his entire career. Congratulations, Quentin, and thanks for all your hard work.
And with so many great athletes around, who do you think the GOAT is, Shaheem?
Well, Allie, for me, the GOAT of all GOATs is Kobe Bryant, the late, great Kobe Bryant. I know people in the basketball realm think it's Michael Jordan, and Kobe tried to, emulate his game, same height, same weight. But in my generation and watching sports, Kobe Bryant was always that standard. So in my eyes, he's the GOAT. What about you?
I definitely agree, but for me personally, I do think it is Michael Jordan.
No.
I know. He just has so many MVP awards under his name and has won so many NBA championships. And I do think when it comes to defining the greatest of all time, there are multiple things that to take into account when thinking about that. But I know for me personally, when I thought of this, the first person that popped in my mind was Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he was called Black Jesus. He might just be the GOAT.
When we come back, we'll take a look at baseball. After their 2-1 series win against Winthrop last weekend, the App State men's baseball team was back on the diamond again this week with a 5-4 win over East Tennessee State University and a 3-1 series win against North Carolina at A&T. In their midweek game, App State took an early lead over the Buccaneers with a home run by the first batter of the day, Kendall McGowan, with his first homer of the season. App held the lead until the fourth when a homer by East Tennessee State tied the game, and 2 in the fifth gave the Buccaneers a 4-1 lead. The Mountaineers struggled to score, with only 6 batters making it on base through 7 innings. But with a double by Bailey Welch to bring in Jason Blashock, App scored again to close the gap and bring the game within 2. In the 8th, App brought themselves within 1 of East Tennessee State with an RBI single by Dalton Williams, bringing in Luke Drumheller for another Mountaineer run. East Tennessee State was still held at 4 going into the 9th, while the Mountaineers used their momentum from the 7th and 8th to take the lead with a single to center field by Philip Cole, brought in both Bailey Welch for his first run and Kendall McGowan for his second, giving App a 5-4 lead and the game. The Mountaineers used 7 pitchers throughout the game, with Cam Roberts pitching 2 innings and Shane Roberts, who pitched 1 inning, kept East Tennessee State scoreless for the first 3 innings. Eli Ellington and Cy Smith, who pitched 2.2 scoreless innings, and Noah Hall, who came in for the last 2 innings to keep East Tennessee State scoreless until the end.
In that first game of the home opener series, the Mountaineers crushed North Carolina A&T 6-2. App took the lead early on against the Aggies and scored a run in each of the first 4 innings. RBIs came from Andrew Greco, Bailey Welch, Andrew Terrell, and Philip Cole, to bring in Luke Drumheller, Alex Leshock, Andrew Greco, and Andrew Terrell. North Carolina A&T only runs came in the 4th when Aggies batter Justin Rodriguez hit a 2-run homer. App held off the Aggies and put the first nail in the coffin in the 8th with 2 more runs by Bailey Welch and Luke Drumheller. The game ended with the Mountaineers not needing to bat in the 9th due to the Aggies' inability to score again.
In their second game against the Aggies, App came back from a 5-point deficit in the 4th to tie the game and eventually win 7-6. North Carolina A&T took the lead on their first at-bat, taking 3 runs from the Mountaineers off of a 3-run homer from the 5th batter. Their lead was extended in the 4th when another home run and an RBI gave the Aggies 2 more runs. App needed to score to keep themselves in the game, and score they did, with runs from Kendall McGowan, Andrew Terrell, Bailey Welch, Alex Leshock, and Luke Drumheller. The Mountaineers were able to tie the game at 5 all in just one inning. App State was able to keep rolling in their next at-bat too, scoring 2 more runs off of a triple from Bailey Welch to bring in Robbie Young and a single by Andrew Terrell to bring in Bailey Welch. The Mountaineers only gave up 1 more run to the Aggies in the 8th, bringing an end to the doubleheader and App a 2-game sweep over the Aggies.
In their third game, the Aggies took their first win against the Mountaineers after an 11-3 win on Sunday. The Aggies dominated the first 3 innings, scoring 9 of their 11 runs, while simultaneously shutting down all of the Mountaineer batters. After they only had 3 hits in the first 4 innings and left 4 runners on base, unable to bring them home. In the 6th inning, App scored their first 2 runs off of a 2-run homer by Robbie Young to also bring in Kendall McGowan. The Aggies responded with 2 runs of their own to keep their 9-run lead. In the 7th, App scored their final run after Austin Rayner was hit by a pitch with the base loaded that advanced Alex Leshock to home base. App couldn't score again during the game, and the Aggies won their first game of the weekend 11-3.
After the first 2 weeks of the softball season, App State senior catcher Bailey Morton was named the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week. Morton has started in all 6 games that the Mountaineers have played, is batting over 3.8% on the season, has the highest on-base percentage of the team at 5.22 and the highest slugging percentage in the Sun Belt at 1.278. Morton has shown up at every game that she has played in, tying her career high with 5 RBIs off of 2 home runs and a double in the Mountaineers' 12-7 win over UNC Charlotte, and another 3 RBIs and a home run in the first game against UNC Greensboro. Overall, Morton has hit 5 homers, 12 RBIs, and scored 6 runs in only 18 at-bats. This is her first time receiving the honor of Player of the Week, and the second time an App State player has been named since joining the Sun Belt. Congratulations, Bailey, and keep up the good work.
This weekend, the Mountaineer softball team traveled to Wilmington, North Carolina for a 4-game series against UNCW, with App winning 3 of the 4 games. In the first game, UNCW took an early lead with a steal, and an error gave them the first 2 runs of the game in the first inning. App was able to catch up in the third when a walk was given to Taylor Thorpe with bases loaded to bring in Gabby Barado for their first point, and a single by Mary Pierce Barnes brought in Emma Jones to tie the game. In the 5th inning, Bailey Morton scored her 6th home run of the season to get App the lead. For the last 2 innings, neither team was able to score again, and App took their first win of the weekend 3-2. Senior pitcher Kenzie Longenecker pitched all 7 innings of the game and had a career-high 8 strikeouts. Longenecker only allowed 7 hits the entire day and only gave up 1 walk.
In their second game, App took another win over the Seahawks, this time winning 5-4. App took the lead early on, and in the first inning, a ground out to second brought in the runner on third, Carrie White. App held UNCW scoreless in the first and extended their lead to 2 with another ground out that brought in Kaylee Kiefer to give App a 2-0 lead. In the bottom of the third, a long at-bat for UNCW gave them time to take the lead with 4 runs. App quickly closed the gap, and with a run by Mary Pierce Barnes and a score off of a wild pitch for Taylor Thorpe, the game was tied again. The game looked like it might go into extra innings, but the tie-breaking run came in the top of the 6th with a Seahawks error that gave Kaylee Kiefer time to make it home, giving App their second win of the weekend.
In their third game, UNCW took their only win of the weekend in a 5-2 walk-off win. In the first inning, App took their only lead of the game after a single hit by Mary Pierce Barnes brought in Bailey Morton, who was waiting on third. App held the lead until the Seahawks tied the game in the bottom of the second with a fly out to bring in their base runner and take the lead in the third with 3 more runs to give them a 4-1 lead. App attempted to come back in a long 4th inning for the Mountaineers almost left them before a strikeout left 3 runners on base. UNCW extended their lead in the 5th with another run after a ground out, and App held them at 5 until the end of the game. The Mountaineers were only able to score 1 more time during the game when a double by Kate Houston brought in Emma Jones in the 6th. Unfortunately, that was it for App as their winning streak ended.
In the final game of the weekend, App finished off the Seahawks in a 7-1 blowout in favor of the Mountaineers. Scoring started in the second for the Mountaineers as a long second at-bat gave the Mountaineers ample time to score runs. The first point came from Gabby Barato after she was brought in by Emily Parrott, while the next four of the inning came from a grand slam home run by Carrie White to give App an early 5-point lead. UNCW's only run of the game came from an RBI single that brought in a runner in the second. App held onto their lead and even extended it in the seventh with a triple by Barato to bring in Kaylee Kiefer and a sacrifice flyout by Taylor Thorpe to bring in Kiefer. UNC was shut down in the seventh after only 3 batters to end the game and give App their third win of the weekend. With their UNCW series over, App is now 6-4 on the season and will continue to play through mid-May. The Mountaineers will be back in action again next week with a 3-game away series against the South Alabama Panthers.
App State's women's soccer team hosted the Davidson soccer team this week with App winning 1-0 over the Wildcats. The game started out slow for both teams as neither was able to score during the first half, and the Mountaineers only been able to take 1 shot in the first period and Davidson 2. App's only shot of the half was taken by Jordan Grisby with a shot to the top of the net, which was wrapped up by Davidson goalkeeper. In the second half, a foul by Davidson on Haley Bowles gave App the first goal of the game with a penalty kick by Olivia Cohen with 30 minutes left on the clock. App took the lead and failed Davidson to only 1 shot on goal to the top right corner of the net for the rest of the half, giving the Mountaineers their first win of the season. Top scorers for the game were Olivia Cohen, who scored the only goal of the game, Emma Gibney with 2 shots and a shot on goal, and Jordan Grisby with 1 shot and 1 shot on goal. The Mountaineers are now 1-1 for their spring season and will have a break next week before hosting Marshall, who has yet to play a match this spring.
In their long-awaited season opener, the Mountaineer field hockey team traveled down the mountain this week for a game against Davidson, with App losing 2-4. The Mountaineers started the game strong with a goal by Grace Ball, who redirected a shot off of a corner attempt after only 11 minutes of play. It didn't take Davidson long to tie up the game, though, and with 40 seconds left in the period, Davidson had 1 in the net. In the second, Davidson capitalized on their late period goal from the first and scored 3 goals on App's net, giving them a 4-1 lead. The Mountaineers tried to come back before the period ended, but were only able to get 2 shots off before halftime. Coming out of the half, App was able to shut down Davidson's offense, but couldn't get another goal, leaving the Mountaineers only 15 more minutes to play to bring it back. The Mountaineers knew what they had to do. In the fourth, and after 1 minute and 22 seconds, Megan Smart assisted Pauline Mangold for App's second goal. Even with their efforts in the fourth, App couldn't score again and gave the Wildcats the win. Sarah Farrell, Frederick Stagen, Pauline Mangold, and Viril Van Heertum each scored 2 of App's 10 attempted shots, with Pauline Mangold and Sarah Ball each scoring once. App is now 0-1 in their season, but will be back on the mountain in 2 weeks for a game right here in Boone against Ball State on March 12th. That's all we have for you this week, sports fans. I'm Allie Powell.
And I'm Shaheem Stafford. And tune in next week to stay up to date on all things Appalachian State sports.